Okay, this is the 140-160 class, and we are doing an actual transcript. It's a sexual assault case, and we're going to estimate about 160.
Okay, begins with a question. For the record, ma'am, would you state your name for the court, please?
My name's Jane Doe.
And could you spell your last name for the court reporter?
D-O-E.
And how old are you?
25.
I'm going to direct your attention to the evening of Saturday, May 12, 2007. Did you go out with friends that evening in Washington, D.C.?
Yes.
And do you recall what time you all gathered, you and your friends, and where you were at the start of the night?
We gathered at my friend Grace and Aaron, their house at, 8:30, and we headed to go into D.C. around 10.
All right. And beginning, when you arrived at Grace and Aaron's around 8:30, what, if anything, did you have to drink at their house?
We had made some sangria, and so I had 2 glasses of sangria, and then I took 2 shots of brandy with my friend Pat.
And at what time did you go to D.C.?
I believe we were supposed to arrive at the sushi bar at 10:45.
And was there an occasion going on that you were going to meet at that time?
Yes, one of my friends, Matt's work colleague's birthday party. So we were going to meet them all there.
And we're meeting there at 10:45 at night?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you recall the name of that sushi bar?
No, it's on P Street.
What, if anything, were you all doing at the sushi bar?
It's pretty rowdy. We went in and there had a table and there were probably 10 people there. And so they had sake, and so we just did sake bombs, ordering drinks and doing karaoke.
And can you explain what a sake bomb is?
It was my first time drinking sake, and it's, I guess, Japanese liquor or something. And so you have a glass, and they fill it with a little bit of beer, and then you put a shot glass of sake, you drop it in it, and then, you shoot it.
And approximately how many sake bombs did you all do?
Matt and Pat and I, we all did between 10 and 15.
And do you remember approximately what time you left the sushi bar?
I think it was around like 12:30 or so.
And where did you go from there?
Matt knew a place across the street, like, a dance bar or some place like that. I don't remember the name of it at all, but we went in,
And did you have anything to drink, an alcoholic beverage there?
Yes, I had Matt get me a Jack and Diet Coke.
And that has Jack Daniels in it?
Yes.
Was that something called the Pasha Cafe?
Yes.
Where did you go after that?
After that, I didn't know why we were leaving. The guys wanted to leave, and I was fine with staying. But they wanted to leave, so we started walking. We went to Fuddruckers is where we ended up.
Did you eat anything at Fuddruckers?
I took 2 bites of Pat's chili, but that's it.
And where did you go from there?
Next door to a techno club called Five.
And is that an after-hours club?
Yes, I think. Yes.
Can you describe for the court how you felt at the time you went to this Club 5?
Yes, I was extremely intoxicated. Yes, I was very, very drunk.
All right. Now, you mentioned your friends, Pat and Justin and Matt, were at Fuddruckers. What happened with Pat and Justin as you left Fuddruckers and were going to Five?
Yes, well, Pat and Matt were walking in front of us, and Justin and I fell behind. And so by the time that Justin and I got to Fuddruckers, Matt had already walked next door and went into Five. So I was just there with Justin and Pat, and they decided they were going to cab home. They're like, we're done, too much to drink, too drunk. We're just going to go home, and I didn't want to.
And can you described how you were feeling, that you were very intoxicated. Can you describe your ability to walk and how you were doing?
Yes, on the way between the first bar, not the second bar, I guess, then after the sake, Japanese place. We went to that one place on the way to Fuddruckers. The guy was walking, Justin was. Pat and Matt were much further, and Justin was just a few feet in front of me. And then I was running to catch up with him and twisted my ankle pretty badly. Justin came back to help me because I had been drinking so much. I just get a little mouthy, like, I'm fine, I can do it myself. But I couldn't walk. So, Justin sat down with me, twirled my ankle a little bit, tried to see how it was feeling. And then I needed his help to walk. So that's how we got so far behind everyone he pretty much carried me to Fuddruckers.
Okay. Now, after Pat and Justin got a cab, you went into Club 5?
Yes.
And that's still in Washington, D.C., in that same area?
Yes, it's on the same street.
Do you remember about what time you arrived there?
I think it's between 2 and 3, maybe even 1:30. I'm not sure. It just really was.
It was late.
It wasn't very late, and I wasn't.
And do you remember whether or not you had anything to drink in Club 5?
Yes, I know. I had something to drink.
Do you remember what or who got it for you?
No. And I even know that I had drank so much at the time. I remember thinking I should get a water, but I know that I had a cocktail, which I'm sure was Captain and Diet or Jack and Diet. And I had taken out some cash at the ATM before I went into 5. So
did you see Matt in Club 5?
I did because he didn't know I was coming in. I had texted him I was coming in, but he didn't respond. But Pat and Justin, I asked them if they were sure that he had walked in there. And they were like, yeah, I didn't want to go in by myself.
So you saw him there?
So I saw him.
What was he doing?
He was dancing,
Do you remember all the events while you were in Club 5? Or how is your memory?
No. It's very like bits and pieces put together. I remember looking for Matt, and then I found him, and then I don't know why I wandered away. And then I went all the way up to the roof. I'd never been up on the roof of 5. I didn't know they had a roof, and I was just wandering around.
Now, at the point when it came that you were leaving Club 5, did you encounter a couple of men?
Yes.
And can you describe what you recall about any conversation you had with them?
Yes, extremely loud, and I had decided it was time to leave, and so I was looking for Matt, to either let's leave together or get a ride or something. And so I encountered 2 men. It was just, hey, what's up? That type of thing. And then I don't know if I said, I'm looking for my friend Matt, or I don't know how it came up, but they were like, Matt? We know Matt. So I was like, oh, you know Matt. And so it was a quick association. I thought they're good people, so it was, and that was done once I thought they knew Matt. I'm like, where did you see him? They're like, oh, he's up there at the front. And I was like, with my ankle, I wasn't wandering back up to the front,
And when you say the front, you mean at the front of the dance floor?
Yes, the front of the dance floor.
Was it crowded in there?
Yes.
All right. So did you leave then without Matt?
Yes.
Okay. And describe. Now, you said your recollection is that you met these 2 people inside of Club 5?
Yes, almost by the bar area.
Okay. And did you walk out with them?
Yes.
Okay. And what, if anything, do you remember about your conversation was you walked out with them?
Just friendly banter. Just talking about the night, Then I don't remember a lot of the details, telling them about, obviously, my ankle. I was limping, and...
You were still limping?
Yes. By the time I got on the street, I took off my shoes at some point.
Do you remember any conversation with them about what you'd been doing that night or what you'd been drinking?
Yes, I told them I went to the sake place. I'd never been to a sushi slash karaoke bar. I mean, I thought it was pretty much, and just that, my friends were in Adams Morgan, that's Grace and Aaron, because they had come with us and they had left the sushi sake place because they didn't like it. And so they went to Adams Morgan and they wanted me to meet up with them there.
So when you left Club 5, were you thinking of meeting them there?
Yes, I was thinking either that or go home.
How was your ability to walk when you left Club 5?
It was pretty bad. I mean, I held on to both of them most of the way they helped me. I had no ability to walk for two reasons. My ankle was twisted, but then also, I was falling over drunk. So, I was
Leaning.
Yes, staggering.
You said they were walking with you. They walked you to their car?
Yes.
What conversation did you have with them about where you were going?
I know I told them about my friends in Adams Morgan and that I should meet up with them. And then I also know that, I'd left my car at Grace and Aaron's house. So actually, I didn't. I left it downtown, but I wanted to go back to Grace and Aaron's house to sleep. So, I was telling them, Alexandria, drop me off.
Did they offer to give you a ride?
Yes. Oh, absolutely, yes.
Now, at this point, when you met them, you had never met these people before?
No.
Were they hitting on you or coming on to you in any way?
No. They were very much, even, helping me to walk because of my ankle and drinking. They were very hands-off at the same time, if you can understand that. Like they were very friendly and respectful. I didn't feel like they're hitting on me, like a personal space type thing.
All right. How did they appear as far as their dress and?
Very clean cut, they were dressed, handsome. Jackets, a jacket on and a t-shirt, nice jeans. Just really very clean cut and nice.
And you believed that they knew your friend Matt?
Yes.
Did you have any fears about going with them at that point in your state?
No.
Do you remember anything about the car?
It was just 4 doors, a luxury car. Just really nice car. I just remember, I was drinking to the point where I just remember it was a really shiny car.
All right. Anything about the interior?
Yes, it was like leather seats, black leather.
Okay. Where did you get into the car? Which part?
Shotgun, the passenger side.
Passenger side front?
Yes.
And who got in the driver's side?
The taller gentleman.
Do you see the person you're referring to as the taller one? Do you see him here in the courtroom?
Yes.
Would you point him out for the court, please?
Silver jacket, gray jacket, pinstripe.
And the purple tie?
Yes.
Will the record reflect the witness has identified Mr. Smith? And the second gentleman who was with him, where did he get in the car?
The back seat, pretty much towards the middle, but more behind me.
All right. And do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Would you point him out, please? Will the record reflect Mr. Jones? How did you feel when you got into the car?
Relieved to be sitting down, but I was, just really, I'd been drinking all night.
Where did you go?
We ended up going to get some pita sandwiches somewhere.
And do you remember where you were to get the pita sandwiches?
It took me a while to remember where we had gone. I remember the Georgetown lights, along that main drag in Georgetown. So I think that because I was leaning my head on the car window, listening to music, laughing, talking, but I think it was in Georgetown, whereabouts where we ended up. They picked the place, and I was like, fine with me.
Did you get out of the car and go in with them to the pita place?
Yes.
Do you remember? Describe what went on inside, if you remember.
Friendly. It seemed like they'd been there before. They knew the guys behind the counter. I mean, it's a late night pita sandwich joint. I sat down and I mean, I just sat down. I just had been drinking a lot. So we got our sandwiches, paid the check, just friendly.
Did you get all the food to go?
Yes,
Do you remember who paid for the food?
I did.
Now, when you got back in the car, you got the food to go. Was there a conversation about where you were going?
Yes, they just said their place was just around the corner. It's closer than, my friend's house, and I should just go there.
Did you agree?
Yes, yes.
When you got to wherever they took you, their home, what do you remember about it, beginning with where the car was parked?
We drove in, parked in a parking garage, like a level cement parking garage, and then went upstairs. The hallways were it's like the cement floor, hallways with doors.
Like an open air hallway
Yes.
with cement floors?
Yes, cement floors. Just very much like that modern simplistic look. And they were like almost on if I recall, I think a corner, like there was 4 doors in their little corner of the hallway, and you walk in and it's a great apartment. So I mean, you walk in to the left, there's the living room, and then the kitchen's off to the further left, and there's a balcony. You can see the balcony, and then right there is the bathroom and the bedroom.
Okay. Did it appear to be a one-bedroom?
Yes, from what I could see, it was a 1-bedroom.
What did you do when you got inside the apartment?
I sat on the couch. We're gonna eat our sandwiches, so we all sat down, started watching TV, and then everyone ate sandwiches.
You ate your sandwich?
Yes,
Was there anything to drink?
yes. The one gentleman got out champagne. So we had a flute of champagne. We'd cheer, like cheers.
Did you drink any of the champagne?
Just a sip or two.
Do you remember which of the gentlemen opened the champagne?
I don't recall.
Were there lights on in the living room?
There was a light on in the kitchen. There wasn't any lights on in the living room.
Okay, but the TV was on.
Yes.
And what do you remember about the television?
We were watching this Jay-Z documentary, or this big thing on Jay-Z and his music.
Okay, what happened after you had the sip of champagne and had something to eat?
I know at one point I went out to smoke on the balcony. I came back in, and they have like a sectional sofa in the living room, and so I was in the corner, like where it meets the corner,
And so is it like L-shaped, you mean?
yes, thank you.
And so you were in the corner.
Yes.
And what was your intent? What were you going to do at that point?
Go to sleep. Go to sleep.
Did you ever get sick from all the drinking?
No. And just even that one sip of champagne, I was like fast asleep. So
You were sitting on the L, and then what happened?
they watched TV for a bit, and I was watching out of one eye, just trying to go to sleep. And then Mr. Jones he was on one corner, and he came in closer kissed me, I guess, and
Did you kiss him back?
yes, I did, with the intent and just thinking, my mind thought if I just give him a kiss, then he'll let me go to sleep.
Did you say anything or do anything?
I didn't really say anything in that particular moment. Before he kissed me, I didn't say anything.
Okay, then what happened?
And then, I kind of pushed him off a little bit, I don't want to do this. I just want to go to sleep. So, but then he continued to kiss me.
Then what happened?
Then I couldn't even tell you how long like that lasted, right there in that little situation. But and then Mr. Smith.
Did you know them by their names that night?
No.
Okay.
No.
And did they ever ask you your name that you recall?
I remember a conversation at some point in the car on the street. because they had accents. And so I asked, and I remember telling them I'm very proud of my last name. It's French. So I remember talking about French accents.
And they had accents?
Yes.
So you said next something, Mr. Smith?
Yes, like he started to come in as well. And then I was just very confused for a second. There definitely was just a shot in the back of my brain of just, what's going on? I was confused.
What did he do when you say he moved closer?
He picked me up and they both did. I just remember being kissed and being picked up, like literally off the ground and carried into the bedroom.
Can you describe at that point your physical condition? How did you feel when you were being picked up?
Like a rag doll. I had nothing left to give.
And you said they took you into the bedroom?
Yes.
And do you recall there just being one bedroom that you saw in there?
Yes.
What happened next that you remember?
I was put on the bed, and then I just remember being very disoriented and not being able to speak a lot. The one, Mr. Jones, I know, took off my pants, and Mr. Smith sat on my chest, and so...
Do you remember whether your clothes were on wrong, your top?
No, they took off my top and my bra, my shirt. I was wearing a black button down, and I remember the buttons coming unbuttoned, and my bra just snaps in the front. So I remember that happening, and I remember like the swish of my pants getting pulled off. I don't even remember the, button being unbuttoned or the zipper. It was just, my body was like numb.
Now, when you're describing your body was numb and you don't remember clearly, was that because of the alcohol?
Yes.
But as far as you know, you were conscious at that point?
Yes.
All right. You were on the bed?
Yes.
Were you on your back?
Yes.
Okay. And where were the others?
Mr. Jones was between my legs, and then Mr. Smith was sitting on my chest.
He was sitting on your chest?
Yes.
And what happened then?
Mr. Jones stuck his fingers in my vagina, and Mr. Smith, he sat on top of me for oral sex.
And what did he do when you say for oral sex?
He put his penis in my mouth.
What, if anything, did you do to prevent him from doing it?
When I realized what was happening, I tried to spit a little bit. I was trying to think. There's not really a whole lot of escape routes for that, So I didn't know exactly what to do. So I tried to spit and I turned my head, back and forth. I was trying.
Was he, despite you doing that, was he successful in inserting his penis in your mouth?
Yes.
While all this was happening, the one between your legs and the other one on your chest, did you ever say anything to them?
Yes.
What did you say?
The few things I was able to get out. I said that I was Catholic. I said that I was a virgin. I said no several times. I asked, after Mr. Jones had inserted his penis, had sex. I was like, is anyone even using a condom? Like I would like defense. I told them I'd get pregnant, because I was a virgin, just...
Why were you telling them these things?
To scare them into stopping.
Do you remember how many times you said no?
At least half a dozen. It was very hard to verbalize.
Why was it hard to verbalize?
Because I had been drinking so much, and then I really haven't, I drank so much, I couldn't function, and I didn't. Also, at the same time, I was just very scared and very afraid.
Now you mentioned Mr. Jones on your chest, Mr. Smith inserting his fingers in your vagina. What else did they do? What do you remember?
I know Mr. Jones then inserted his penis into my vagina, and then I remember it was very dark. The room was dark, and I opened my eyes at one point to look at both of them because I knew I was being raped and that this wasn't, what I wanted to do. So But then after that, I closed my eyes the whole time. So I remember, I don't know who was coming and who was going, but I know Mr. Smith got off my chest. Someone came back on my chest, and I know I was, penetrated vaginally, several times, but I didn't know who was where and what was happening and who was coming and going, just all very, very, very foggy.
So did it feel like they were switching off?
Yes, very much so.
Now you mentioned at one point you made yourself open your eyes and look at them. Why did you want to look at them?
Because I wanted to be able to recognize them.
To identify.
To identify them.
You said that you were vaginally penetrated. You said, I think, several times.
Yes.
Can you describe how that felt? Did it hurt?
It was very painful, and I remember specifically thinking at the time how painful it was because, I'd been drinking so much that you just kind of lose touch with pain, I mean, like I had fallen down on the way, with Justin, and I was like, I remember thinking in my head, well, your ankle's going to be swollen tomorrow, so you better dance tonight because you can't feel it. So, when drinking, just don't feel things as acutely. So I remember thinking that how painful it was.
You talked about some of the things you were saying to them. Did you ever ask for your cell phone? What was going on? Where was your cell phone?
Yes, when we got in the car, I looked into my clutch for my cell phone too.
This is in D.C. when you got in?
This is in D.C. when we left 5 to contact Grace and Aaron, because at that time I didn't know if I was going to go home or go to, that bar. And so I was going to, call them and see, are you guys going to go back? Should I meet you at the house or shall I come there? And my cell phone was gone, wasn't in my purse. My purse and my pockets, that's all I had. So I didn't have it. And the gentleman suggested that I probably, left it at the 5, and being intoxicated as I was like, you're probably right.
Were you looking around the car for it?
Yes, I looked around for it, so.
All right, and once you were in the apartment?
I looked on the floor, in my purse, my pockets. We got to the apartment. I had sandwiches and looking in my purse. My purse is this big. There's nowhere for it to go, so. I looked for it before, and I also, in the middle of being assaulted, I asked for my cell phone multiple times. I probably asked for that more than anything else.
Okay, and why did you want your cell phone?
That was the only way that I felt that I could, get help, get out of the situation, get home, get anything.
And did they ever answer you when you were asking for your cell phone?
No.
And when you were saying other things like telling them no and you're a virgin, did they respond to you?
Not very often. The only things they really said were relax. It's all right, just very, soothing tones and just very much, like calming like. And the one reference that was a little bit more, it's cool. They just kept saying, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. And you were so cool earlier, when I was like, trying to get a little more, verbal aggressive.
Okay. Now you described them as telling you, calming you down, it's cool. And you were so cool earlier.
Yes.
Were they ever physically violent? Did they ever hit you?
No.
Did they ever threaten to hurt you?
No.
Did they show you any weapons?
No. All right, this will be some timed warm up, about 160.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, begins with a question for the record. Now, Mr. Clegg, when you were first starting at Beach Mercedes, was there an agreement between you and Sal as to the price levels on cars?
I would say there was an agreement. It was not cut and dried that we would sell cars at any particular fixed price.
Was there an agreement between you and Sal as to the discount levels on cars?
Not really.
Did you know of any set discount structure at Beach Mercedes that you were to follow when selling cars?
No.
Did Beach Mercedes discount vehicles to your knowledge?
Yes, they did.
But you are unaware of what these discount structures were, is that correct?
That is correct.
You were never privy to any information from Sal as to what the discount structure was. Is that correct?
Well, I went to Sal when I had a hot prospect for a vehicle. He would determine the selling price.
And how did that work out?
Well, Sal would go into his office and usually come back out to my office with a suggested price for a vehicle.
But you never were privy to how that number was arrived at or where that figure came from. Is that true?
That is true.
So in the case of the Macintoshes, tell me what happened when they came in to purchase the car, the 2012 Mercedes sedan.
Well, they were regular customers. They came in about every 2 years to trade in their Mercedes for a new one. In this particular case, they came in on a Saturday and wanted to trade in their old Mercedes for a new model.
Well, what happened when they came in?
They test drove a couple of models and decided on the one that they wanted. I wrote up the paperwork and took it into Sal's office. He looked it over and came back with a number for me to tell them what Beach Mercedes would give them as a trade-in on their old vehicle.
What happened then?
Well, I looked at the number. I could not believe the price that Sal wanted to give them for their old Mercedes.
What do you mean? Was it high or low in your estimation?
Well, the price that Sal came up with actually gave them $100 on their old car. The old Mercedes was only 2 years old.
What did you do?
I did not show the offer to the client. I went back in Sal's office and said he must have made a mistake with his zeros. He just laughed and said, "Give it a try. They won't know the difference. They are loaded."
What did you do then?
I just looked at him. I thought he was taking advantage of the client. They were good clients, and they deserved a bigger discount or trade-in on their old car.
Did you show the offer to the Macintoshes?
Yes, I did. They looked at me kind of funny and said, "Is there a mistake in the zeros?"
What did you say or do?
I said I would go check with Sal again.
What did Sal say?
He said that was his one and only offer to them. Take it or leave it.
Did you go back to the Macintoshes with that offer?
Yes, I did. I was embarrassed and felt like I was insulting them. I told them that was the last offer.
What happened when you presented the offer to them?
They got up and left.
Now, based on the transaction with the Macintoshes, do you feel your employment with Beach Mercedes was terminated over this incident?
Yes.
Why is that?
Sal told management that I misunderstood what he was saying as far as the offer presented to the Macintoshes. He told management that the offer I presented to the customer was incorrect. He said he never told me to offer them $100 as a trade-in on their used Mercedes.
Is that correct?
No, that is not correct. He wrote $100 on a piece of paper and said, "Take it or leave it." That is what I presented to the Macintoshes. One more section. Just some 12s. Okay.
Ready? Begins with a question for the record. Now, Mr. Allen, do you know Raven Choir?
Do I know her or did I know her?
Do you know her or did you know her prior to the breaking and entering into your residence? On West Side Drive.
I was acquainted with her. She was not a friend, just an acquaintance.
I see. Okay. And how long were you acquainted with Ms. Quire?
About 4 months.
Was this 4 months prior to the breaking and entering into your home on West Side Drive?
Yes.
Now, is Ms. Quire present in the courtroom?
Yes, she is.
Would you point her out and identify her for the record?
Yes, she is sitting over there.
Okay, and what is she wearing and where is she sitting?
She is wearing an orange jumpsuit. She has a cast on her right hand. She has blonde hair up in a ponytail.
For the record, Your Honor, the witness has identified Ms. Quire. Now, Mr. Allen, when you went to bed on the evening on August 8th, did you lock the doors of your residence on West Side Drive?
Yes, I did. I always check all of the doors and windows before going to bed. It is just a habit of mine.
Okay. Now, did you give Ms. Quire permission to enter your home that evening?
No, I did not.
Did you give Ms. Quire a key to enter your home on August 8th?
No, I did not.
What happened after Ms. Quire entered your home on the evening in question?
Well, she sat down on a chair in my bedroom and started crying.
What was she crying about?
She said she needed money. She was fired from her job. She was broke. She said her mother had kicked her out of her house because of drugs. She needed a place to stay. She kept on crying and sobbing. I felt sorry for her.
Now, at some point, sir, Ms. Quire left your residence. When did that occur?
Well, she stayed about 3 hours. She was crying. Like I said, I felt sorry for her.
Did you and Ms. Quire have sex?
Yes, we did. She said she would have sex with me if I would give her $100.
Did you do so?
Well, I had sex with her, but I only gave her $50. That is all I had in cash. She seemed upset and started crying some more, so I told her if she came back the next night, I would give her $100 if she had sex with me again.
By the way, how did Ms. Quire gain entry to your home?
She came in through a side door to the garage, which I had failed to lock.
Now, sir, on August 9th, how did Ms. Quire gain entry to your home?
I told her I would leave the garage door open, so she came in that way.
And what time did she arrive at your residence?
About midnight.
Did you have sex with Ms. Quire again?
Yes, I did.
Did you give her any money?
Yes, I gave her $50 again.
What happened then?
Well, she started yelling at me. She said, "You promised to give me $100 if I came over tonight. You lied to me. You are a son of a bitch. I hate you. Give me my $100 like you promised."
Did you give her $100?
No, I just wanted her out of my house when she started yelling at me.
When did you first notice that your Rolex watch was missing?
The next morning.
Now, that would be August 10th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you notice anything else missing?
Several DVDs were missing, along with some prescription pills that I kept in a cabinet in the bathroom.
What type of prescription pills were missing?
Some Ambien and some Vicodin.
Were these prescription pills prescribed to you?
Yes, for control of back pain.
Did you contact Ms. Quire after this incident?
Yes, I did. I accused her of taking my watch and pills.
What did she say to you?
She said, "You're crazy."